California. I've been in Japan for 17 years, so a long time.
It was 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, I could never do that in America and feel safe.
6'3" black man living in Japan. Like, if the police stop me here and ask to see my, resident card.
I feel better taken care of in Japan. I don't have to worry about going into medical.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. 𝐬𝐿 TV, man. We doing another reaction to my guy's Tekashi's channel. Give him a like, comment, share. Tell him 𝐬𝐿 TV sent you, man. You know, I like his channel. He got good content over there. You know what I'm saying? But this one here is Americans living in Japan. All right. Not gonna say I haven't visited that idea a few times, but I don't know much about the culture. But yeah, man, it's a long video. I'm gonna play the video. Like, comment, share the video. All right, let me take this off the screen because this is, wait. All right, y'all, let's get it.
Dead. I don't have to worry about getting shot.
Most likely gonna go back to the States. I wanna stay, but...
You speak Japanese, right?
Oh, yes. I'm pretty fluent.
Like, how did you learn? Because you've only been in Japan for 1 year or something, right?
If you're like broke and in America and you've always wanted to come to Japan like I did, I have really good practical advice, so lock in.
Okay, I'm locking in, motherfucker. I'm locking in.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Takashi. So today I'm gonna interview Americans in Japan. What's it like living in Japan for Americans? Okay, let's get started. Which city are you from? How long have you been in Japan? What do you do for a living?
So I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I live in Meguro in Tokyo. I have a business called 𝐾 that me and my manager run that helps people that want to get to Japan and get their visa and get their businesses set up.
So I was born in Tokyo, but I grew up in Virginia near the DMV area. I'm half Okinawan and half American. I've been living in Tokyo now for about 2 years, and I primarily do modeling.
So I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida. I've been living in Japan for 4 months. I've been traveling here for 7 years. And for business, I run a consulting agency in Tokyo called Hanami Social.
Hi, my name is Emery. I've lived in Japan for 10 years now. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've also lived in Dallas, Texas, and Springfield, Missouri. And I'm a product designer here in Japan.
I am from Norfolk, Virginia, and I am a photographer here in Tokyo and a creative producer. And I've been here for 14 years.
I'm from Oahu, Hawaii. I've been in Japan for about almost 3 years now. And I'm here studying as a student.
I'm from Oakland, California. I've been in Japan for
of
17
Americans.
years, so a long time. And I do comedy. I do YouTube and social media and stuff like that.
For Japanese audience.
Yep, only for Japanese people. No,
Speaking Japanese.
Speaking in Japanese, Americans or English speakers won't get anything that I say, so.
What brought you to Japan, and how difficult was moving to Japan?
So I always wanted to live in Japan since I was a little kid, and I wanted to speak Japanese perfectly. But moving to Japan was relatively easy. I wanted to get here as soon as possible. So what I did was I signed up for like a cheap student visa, which can be extended up to 2 years, and came here 4 months ago.
Coming to Japan was a long process. I mean, I've been here a few times, and every time I was hoping to just get here and find a job and get a visa, but it's not that simple. Another big challenge was the fact that I didn't have a college degree. And that's what a lot of employers are looking for. So it took a while to get to this point, but yeah, that was one of the harder things.
How did you make it this time?
So one, during COVID, I knew I wasn't gonna come to Japan because, there was no people coming in and out of Japan. So I decided to get my degree in digital cinematography just for the hopes of getting my visa. So that's the reason why I'm able to get my visa this time.
I decided to look for employment over here, and I got a job as an English teacher. The JET program is the Japanese English Teaching Program. It's a private program sanctioned by the government, I think.
I think it's official, yeah.
Official, right? Yeah. You gotta have a degree, but it's also before there was less ALT private companies. Basically, being in the JET program was like the golden opportunity and the highest pay. So many people would apply. You have to write an essay. You have to go through multiple interviews and things too. You have to show up usually outside of your city to interview in person as well on a panel of 3 judges, and the interview is quite serious. So that's why it's extremely competitive. So if you get into JET, amazing. If you don't, that's cool too. There's plenty of other opportunities to get into Japan.
Moving here was actually fairly easy after I did the research and figured out how other people had gone through the process of getting here. I reached out to a friend who connected me with an American who was teaching at something called a 𝐬𝐽.
What is it?
And the 𝐬𝐽 basically is a English conversation school that many Japanese people will go to. They're usually near like a train station.
It's everywhere, yeah.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it's very, very common here.
It was really easy because if you try to get a normal apartment, they're not going to let you get one because they don't trust, not just foreigners, they just don't trust anybody. But if you go to a place that's like made for foreigners, it's kind of cheap and it's not that hard to get. So, and you guys could all get it really easily.
You came here as a student first, right?
Yep, came here as a student, studied a year abroad first. It was an amazing experience and I never really came back to the States.
I have citizenship here, so I don't need to worry about visa, so I think I really lucked out on that end. It was really difficult when it came to finding an apartment, getting bank accounts and all of that, so that was a really big surprise. I expected it to be a lot smoother than it was.
Wait, but you have Japanese passport and you speak Japanese, but it was hard? Because why?
Just because I didn't have a history of like living here, and when I came here, I still had not found a job. So on paper, I looked kind of sketchy, like I was 22, no job. I did have a bachelor's degree from the States, but in general, I think it was just really difficult for me to be taken seriously as someone that's like trying to make a living here.
When you moved to Japan, what was the first culture shock that you have as an American?
It is super safe here. Like I moved here from New York City and it's like super safe. Like I remember like going to like a coffee shop and I saw someone leave their 𝐾𝐽, like their cell phone on the table and leave and no one touched it. And I, would see people with their computers like leave and go to the bathroom or go outside and talk on the phone or something and come back and nobody really bothers your stuff. And at night, it's super safe for women to walk home alone. I noticed that a lot. Like I'd walk home at like 2 or 3 in the morning and I'd see women alone. Right. Also, is in New York, you can't really drink that much and pass out. But people here, if you see someone passed out or sleep in public, nobody's touching their watch. Right. No one's touching their expensive bag. Like it's super safe.
Compared to the rest of Japan, it's, big city, lots of people, and yet so many people, but everyone is kind of in their own lane, not really trying to socialize until you're in that environment. But in other countries, you can just anywhere kind of just spark a conversation. But it's also possible here, but the feeling is a little bit different where people that really don't want to interact make it clear.
Especially for Americans, I think, because when I went to the States for the first time, like I was so shocked that people started talking on the street, and that never happened in Japan. So
that's why it's a big difference coming here and then having people that are like very close and like maybe you have some fashion thing that they might want to comment on, but they just won't say anything.
I think how annual holidays are celebrated, for example, Christmas. Well, Halloween's different too, but especially Christmas is very different than maybe, for example, the religious aspects taken out of it, as well as the family aspect. It's more for couples. So it's kind of like a pre-Valentine's Day event. So,
that's true. You know the word 𝐿 Can you explain 𝐿?
So 𝐿 basically, I've seen many restaurants and cafes saying, oh, if you're a couple, don't come in here. It's only really made for single people on Christmas. So like you're not making them feel worse about themselves. So it's kind of a safe space for single people on Christmas. I've seen that. I've seen that.
That's dope.
Japanese guys will pay to go to bars just to talk to girls. Now it's totally normal for me, but like imagine going to a bar to pay to talk to somebody when you could just go to a bar and not pay and talk to somebody.
Why do you think it does exist here?
I think it's a good way to like bond with you, I guess your your coworkers. It's just a way to have a meeting and write off a meeting. Right. And if you go to an expensive place, the girls are like literally talented. Sorry, I said literally. That's such a stupid word to say. They're really talented. Like they're really good at speaking. Like if you go to Ginza, that's their job. All they do is speak every day. So it's like pretty entertaining thing. I don't go, but I have been.
I was really surprised how different relationships are here. My impression is that like everyone cheats. I think that's not the case in America. But when you ask Japanese people like, have you ever cheated before? They'll go like, no, never. And if you ask them again, they'll be like, 1回だけ, just once. And then you ask them again, they'll be like, 10回だけ, just 10 times.
I assume you have lots of Japanese friends and stuff. Do you think it's actually true, or what do you think? Like, is that misconception, or?
I definitely have Japanese friends that don't cheat, but it's hard to know whether they're telling the truth too. But I think there are loyal people here, but there's also like the fuzoku and things like that, which like whether that's cheating or not is a debate among Japanese people. I'm sure you've seen.
Oh, what about your friends? What do they say about that prostitution count as cheating, or?
I think girls usually will say like if it's for business, it's common that like business people will go there with like senpai, for example. That's okay, but if you go by yourself, then it's cheating.
When it comes to the lifestyle, how different is in Japan and the United States?
I think one of the biggest differences here is the size of my apartment. The living spaces are quite small here, especially if you live like in the inner city, like here in Shibuya. In New York City, my apartment was a little bit older, but I'm like 6'3", right? I'm quite tall for Japan. So some of the initial apartments I lived in, I had to like duck to get into the apartment, or I had to duck to get in from the living space into the bathroom. Fortunately, now I live in a pretty modern space, so I don't have to duck, but I think one of the biggest challenges here was my height. As sort of like a 6'3" black man living in Japan, I never really have to worry about people being really afraid of me, or I feel kind of safe, especially with the police. Like if the police stop me here and ask to see my, resident card, I have no fear. I just take it out and show it to them. But if the police were to stop me in New York City or stop me in Virginia, I have a sense of anxiety and fear of the threat of violence. And that does not exist here.
Probably commuting is the most different, America versus Japan, because especially where I'm from in Oklahoma and Texas, we're very vehicle reliant. So like we use our car for everything. We sit in traffic for hours in the weeks commuting back and forth to work. But like, in Japan, we're either remote work now or we're on the commuter trains. So, and you have to walk a lot. My friends coming to Japan to visit from America, I can hear them like we're walking around a little bit. It's a lot of walking. So I'm like, I forget we use our cars to travel everywhere. So yeah, I think. So just like the daily aspect of walking so much.
Yeah.
I would say in general, it's really, really different. Just my daily life is very different. I lived by myself since I was 19 in the States, especially during college. I was living in Portland, and I definitely think Japan is a lot safer. So I feel like just the daily stress of like having to go out, even if it's at night, like I don't really stress out that much here. Like for example, I had to, for like a photo shoot, I had to meet at the station at around 5:30, and I didn't have a first train out of my nearest station. So I walked with my luggage for 30 minutes to a different station, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Like I could never do that in America and feel safe. But for me, like as long as I don't have my headphones in or I feel pretty alert, like it's not really an issue.
I think Japanese
lets you know that we have been lied to here in America. It's dangerous. People are disrespectful, rude, racist as hell. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. Every video that I've seen from people living in other countries, they're living better than us. They're living comfortably. They're living better than us. It's way less political. People are respectful. It's safe. We've been lied to. And they actually have a quality of life. It's people here making $150K and broke. Nah. We've been lied to. Everything is a lie. Our history is a lie. Everything's a lie. Everything's a lie here in America.
His life is much more convenient.
It's crazy.
And it's much cheaper. Like if Americans come to Japan right now, it's like a 30% off Black Friday sale on everything in the country. Food is delicious. People are really friendly. Japanese is fun. It's great. I noticed simple things are different. Like I lived in New York for a little bit, and people would just like dance in the subway station and like sing with their headphones on. And that sort of behavior is kind of like frowned upon here. It makes you look a little bit weird, like you're distracting others. But I kind of miss that a little bit. I want to be weird, but I don't know. I feel like it's not good.
Yeah, say in the States you want to switch one of your foods for another food or get something out, you can do it. In Japan, they get like, wait, what? You want to, you know what I mean? Or this is something that happened the other day. Like, say they had whipped cream pancakes last month, but do you have whipped cream pancakes? And they'll say, no, we don't have whipped cream pancakes this month. And you'll be like, well, there's whipped cream on the cake there. Can you put the whipped cream from the cake on the pancakes? And they'll be like, no. So what you do is you say, can I have the whipped cream cake, but without the cake, just the whipped cream and the pancakes, and just put the whipped cream on the pancake. Wakaru?
No flexible.
So not flexible. You kind of have to work around it.
I think the biggest difference in mindset between sort of like an American mindset and a Japanese mindset, to be very general, is Americans are focused on individualism.
Right.
And I feel like Japanese society is focused on collectivism. Like, Americans are socialized to think, what is best for me? What do I want to...
We have not we, but we have a crab in a barrel mentality. Like, literally, you know what I'm saying? We don't live in peace because there's always supremacy here. And, you know, so we try to live for ourselves because you constantly got people attacking you. I'm gonna keep it a buck. America is shit right now. I'm gonna keep it a buck.
to do for me? Where do I want to go? What do I like? Whereas I feel like in Japanese culture, there's a focus on, I don't know how to say it, it's like wa culture. There's a focus on like the group and what's best for the group and how the group can come together and form a synergy for the group to move forward.
Right.
Whereas in the US, I feel like it's like, how can I move forward? Not my whole squad or group.
When you say you're from the United States, how do Japanese people react? What's their general impression?
So I think I have to explain, not to Americans, but to people outside America, that America is so big. We're so many cultures inside of this big landmass. And not just Japanese, but when anyone who's non-American thinks of America, you think of cowboys, or you think of the West Coast style, or you think of maybe New York City and New Yorkers. But yeah, I think it's that kind of image of oh, do you have guns? Do you shoot? Are you this, that? Yeah, the guns question a lot.
Have you ever seen the movie Rush Hour with Jackie Chan?
Yep.
They think you're Chris Tucker. You know, they think you're super overreactive. Like if you eat
Funny guy.
Yeah. Oh, sushi, it's so good. Wow, I really like the sushi. It's so
Exaggerating.
so exaggerating. Like they think that foreigners are really energetic and stuff. But you know, there's all different types of Japanese people, and there's all different types of non-Japanese people.
What I want to say is that I think especially Americans living in Japan, I think they're more tend to be in general introverted, compared to Americans in America. I think because that's why they suit their personality to Japan, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I mean, a lot of nerds like Japan because they like anime, they like that type of culture. So it's really good for you if you come here. It's an easy country to be an introvert.
One thing that stands out for me is Japan seems so safe. On the other end, Japanese people think of America as not safe. So some people are actually worried about coming here because of the gun violence that's going on in the U.S. So that was the biggest thing that people always...
America isn't safe. Just flat out, America isn't safe. It's not. It's not. And it's going to get worse over these next 4 years. It's not. America is not safe. It's 100% right. Our quality of life here right now is shit, and it's going to get worse. The stock market's already crashed, and check the date. March 12th, 2025. You can go back 2 years later and check the date right now and see who the market is. It is the lowest it has ever been.
mentioned when they come to talk to me about the States.
I think general impression that I think we all agree that Japanese people like the States. Japanese people kind of fantasize at the same time, but from your perspective, many Japanese people recognize United States is not safe.
Yeah, that's pretty much most people's impression of the U.S. Unless they've already been out of the country, that's usually the impression.
Maybe that's true because like on even Japanese media, like they show a lot about gun shooting, like how corruption, everything in the States. Maybe that's why, yeah.
I've noticed that on the news or on social media in general, that the image of the U.S. is definitely being skewed in a way. But at the same time, in the U.S., when you're on social media, you also see these things. But it's just for the Japanese people to actually like cater it to that system, and it's not all about that, but it is like their main, I don't know. The main quality of the U.S., like this is happening in the U.S., like this crazy stuff happens there, it doesn't happen here.
The impression or reaction I get to someone, it really depends on where their interests lie. For example, I met a friend and her aunt was quite older. I think her aunt was around maybe 65 or 70 years old. And I told her my name was Richard. And she was like, oh, like Richard Gere. Like, like the old white American actor, Richard Gere. I mentioned to another person that I was from the US, and they're like, you look like Snoop Dogg. And I look nothing like Snoop Dogg. I think it really depends on the person you're talking to and what their kind of connection is to America. But I think most people think, when I tell them I'm from New York City, for some reason they're quite impressed. I think New York City is kind of like this sort of, interesting place for Japanese people.
For everyone in the world.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's amazing.
So when I say I'm from Florida, they just say Disney. And when I say I lived in Texas, they say cowboy. But generally, like their impression is really good of Americans, and they think they're all like beautiful and tall. Not the case. They really like American accents too. It reminds them of all of the media and movies and music and stuff.
How can I live in Japan? How do I find a job there? Any advice for moving to Japan? These are some of the questions that you guys ask me all the time. I keep saying the same thing. Learning Japanese is super important. And yeah, I get it. Japanese is very hard. Even I struggle with kanji sometimes. But the easiest way to learn Japanese is with private teacher. And I highly recommend checking out Preply. With over 1,500 Japanese tutors, you can find the perfect teacher. You can filter based on your interests, whether you aiming at to pass country, the perspective from outside of the country.
It's kind of embarrassing being American abroad, to be honest. I don't know.
Why?
Just like looking at like what other countries are doing, especially like even like sustainable wise. I don't know. I don't think the US is like on par.
Did you have that feeling when you were in the States? Or you started having that feeling after living in Japan?
I think because I've moved so many places before, I've always kind of felt like that. Definitely being in Japan, like now, definitely like reinforce that view I had.
Being from the South, like the America no Minami, like where I'm from, it goes God, family, country. So being a patriot means, you're also a good Christian. It means like you're also a dedicated person. Like it's really like serious. So like since I've been maybe 4 or 5 years old, we started doing the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. So you've got these like little kids like taking a pledge to a country using words they really don't understand. So like that's something we don't do in Japan public school. Like we don't do that. And so like other countries, they don't have Pledge of Allegiance to their countries. In Texas, they have 2. They have a state allegiance to Texas, and then they have one to the USA. So like doing that and then constantly hearing that the USA is the best country. You won't find a better country than the USA. This and that. America's the best and we're number one. We're the most free country in the world,
Disagree. Well, she's saying she's right, but completely disagree with that. And we're not the best country in the world. We're not. We are on our knees right now, and we're about to be on our chest in a few moments. Pause.
Realistically, once you step out of that, once you go live in other places, experience other places, like other places have constitutions, other places have freedoms. Honestly, I feel better taken care of in Japan even though I'm a non-citizen, I am a working resident, a tax-paying resident of Japan. But I feel better taken care of than a U.S. citizen.
See? That speaks
in
volumes.
America.
That speaks
because
volumes.
Even though I'm American, because I have health insurance in Japan, and I have I don't have to worry about going into medical debt. Even if I don't speak, fluent Japanese.
America was made to America is crippling the economy right now with our current president. Crippling. They don't care. The baby boomers do not care about what happens to people under the age of 55 years old. They do not care. That's why he's destroying the economy right now in front of us. Okay? They do not care. These people are living well in these other countries. I saw a bunch of other stuff from Africa, man. You should see how these people living. We over here driving 23-year-old cars. They driving BMWs, G-Wags. Come on, man. Like, nah, we not. No. She's right. She's 100% right.
Is where I'm not Japanese national. It doesn't matter. They'll still take care of you. They'll still, I don't have to worry about getting shot. I don't have to worry about, if my friends' kids or if I'm going to work, as a teacher, if I'm going to run into like a situation where I have to defend my class from like a gunman and like just seeing that and like having to explain that to my family back home, it makes me really sad because like we get like instilled in us so hard. It becomes, dare I say, brainwash. No country's perfect.
It's exactly I'm glad she said that. It's brainwashing. It's indoctrination to make kids recite, like she said, the Pledge of Allegiance when you don't even understand the words you're saying. It's indoctrination. You know what I'm saying? It's very sad how us Americans are living right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse. It happened during the pandemic. It's gonna get worse. Okay, but it's inspiring to know that you can go somewhere else in the world and actually enjoy yourself, but you can stay home in America and suffer. You know what I'm saying? Like, they make it tough, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Japan's not perfect too, and there's a lot that I love about the USA, and like my family's still there.
Right.
But yeah, you just start to really see and reflect on the quality of life is better in other countries.
It is.
Even though we're constantly told we're the best, we're number one.
Yep. Lie.
And that's really sad because that's your country. Like, it's disappointing, and it's disappointing that I have to see my friends and family go through this still in America. That's all.
After living here for a while, and then I look back in the States, one thing I think of is I don't really want to go back to live there. I don't really need to. It's a bit of a circus, in my opinion. Like me, I'm not very political, so when I see this political stuff happening, I get very conspiracy theorist about it, about like things that are happening on purpose. Like there's a systematic system of school shootings for a reason. It's not just a natural occurrence,
And
There's
they
stuff
won't
like that
fix
happening
it.
in the States. So it's like a show. It's a circus. That's how I think of it, and I don't want to participate. So
People are really direct and honest with you all the time. And sort of like American friendships are based on honesty. People telling each other exactly what they're doing all the time. But Japanese people try to like save face a little bit, or sometimes they try to not say things that they think will upset you. And this can make it difficult to relate to people in a really close way. So I think America's a good place to make friends.
Living in Japan, again, like it's just so much safer, the daily stress of that. And so when I look back on my experiences in America especially, I just don't think that I would feel comfortable moving back. The daily stress of like having to go out and like being careful about time and knowing which routes I want to take, and especially like living in, as a 20s young girl living on my own, that's a really big concern for me. I think especially looking from Japan, America does have a lot of like freedom of expression, and like I think people are allowed to be a lot more open with who they are and express themselves in so many different ways. Whereas here, I do think sometimes I have to kind of like not tone myself down, but just make sure I'm expressing myself a bit more appropriately.
It's a lot more relaxed. Like in Japan, people are a little bit more thorough with everything that they do. America's more like time is money. Let's move, let's move, let's move. And Japan is like, I'm going to wrap your present perfectly. You know what I mean? Like totally different cultures for sure. But I think, America has good points too. But I've been here since I was 19 basically, so I don't know what it's like.
Your whole adulthood was in Japan.
Yeah. My entire adulthood was in Japan, and it's easy for me to live here. I think America, it would take me, I don't know, maybe a year to get used to living there again. Yeah.
What do you miss about the United States? What do you miss your home country?
Los tacos. Tacos, Mexican food. Yeah.
From California.
Yeah, from California. En Japón, los tacos son muy caros.
That's it?
They're super. Yeah. Nothing American, just the tacos. Yeah.
Okay.
Mexican.
Back in the States, I do talk to my friends a lot about like social issues or politics, but I feel like that's not really a priority for a lot of people, at least my age here. And so it's a little bit harder to get into conversations about like misogyny and patriarchy and politics and things like that.
You like to talk about it?
I do like to talk about it, yeah.
It might be debatable, but I really miss like being around like Americans as a group. Like if you put politics aside and religion aside, there's something really cool about Americans. And I think we're just like good-spirited, really fun people. And I think we know how to come together when we need to. And I think that's something really dope about us. So I will say, like, I don't know, I do miss Americans.
As my family and friends, I miss them. They miss me. But other than that, yeah, I'm good being here, honestly. Like, I will tell you, my feeling was that I was homesick for Japan while I was living in the U.S. after going there the first time.
Oh.
So I was always ready to come live here because I wanted to come experience it once and say, okay, I could actually live here. And ever since then, I've been wanting to come live here. So now I'm home right now.
Living in Japan for 14 years. Can you imagine yourself going back to the States to live there again for a long time?
To be honest with you, the first answer is no. I feel very comfortable here. The only thing that I worry about is as my family gets older, I kind of miss the sense of being connected to my family. So I kind of want to be close to my family, but I also really enjoy my life here. I really appreciate this culture, but sometimes I miss the familiarity of my family.
I really like Japan. I want to live here for a long time. I think as I get better at Japanese, I'll start to like it more, I hope. And if that's the case and business continues to do well, I think I'll stay here.
Rest of your life?
I think it's possible. I just don't know. If I had kids later in life, I'm not sure I would want to raise them here because I think it's too safe.
What do you mean? Isn't it good?
I think if you're raised in a place that's this safe, you can't really live anywhere else. I think that's why Japanese people don't leave very often. It's like once you get used to that, everywhere else seems dangerous.
That's so true, yeah. I mean, that's why I think
That's a good
many
point.
Japanese people get scammed, picked up, robbed, maybe in other countries because we don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, like I've had lots of Japanese friends like get their wallets stolen on the subway in New York and things like that. Like it's just things they don't expect in Japan. But it sucks.
But that's the thing, you know, we wouldn't even have to. It's terrible that you do have to prepare. America's shit, bro. We shit right now.
Because it ruins their vibe of America.
My husband is Japanese, so it really depends on his work too.
Yep.
We've discussed like trying America too, and he really loves America. And you know, now that I'm getting older too, in my 30s, that I have to start thinking about family. When you're in your 20s, you don't really think about. You're like, oh, just you come over to Japan to have fun, to just we'll see what happens in the future. But now, once you start getting older and you get married, it's like okay, you start planning for families. Where do I want to put my kids? There's so many like positive things about, you know, being close to my family in America too. And Japan's always my home, but like, yeah, it's a tough question. It's still not sure, but for now we're comfortable in Japan.
I see.
I want to stay here for a little bit longer, and then I'm most likely going to go back to the States. I want to stay, but the wage is kind of low.
What about this condition then? Like you can make money in USD, live in Japan.
Oh, I would stay.
Definitely will not live in the United States again. It's too crazy. I don't even know if I want to live in Japan. I could just travel around anywhere I want. So
No, in the States.
I mean, I might travel in the States for 3 months, but I mean, Europe would be kind of fun. Some parts of maybe Singapore would be fun. You know, South America, dude. I want to go to Brazil, Central America, maybe Mexico.
Haven't decided.
Haven't decided, but I don't know if I'd stay here forever either.
At least as of now, I can see myself staying in Japan long term. I think for me, as long as the political climate in America is like the way that it is now, I don't really see myself moving back. I definitely want a family in the future,
agree.
and so
I
especially
agree.
for that reason, I think raising them in Japan would be a bit better.
So my original plan was to come stay here, live here, make a family here. And then if I want to travel, I can always travel, but I wanted to make Japan home. So that's still the case.
Okay. Never changed.
Never changed.
Okay. Any advice for Americans who want to move to Japan or live in Japan?
Definitely. If you're like broke and in America and you've always wanted to come to Japan like I did, I have really good practical advice to lock in. What you should do is like keep working your boring job for like 3 to 6 months, save up as much as you can, go on GoGo Nihon or some other website and find like a very cheap language school. There's 3 types of language schools. One is just like cheap for a visa. One is like you actually learn. And then the top one is like only Chinese and Korean students that learn Japanese really fast. So choose wisely. Then once you do that, they'll take care of the visa process. You can live here for 2 years. Upon arrival, you'll get free national insurance, or it's very cheap. If you live in like the center of America, you should buy a really cheap flight ticket to like Los Angeles on like Spirit or Frontier. And then you should take like a $300 direct flight from Los Angeles to Tokyo on like Zip Airlines.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Super cheap. Zip Air.
Yeah.
The best. And after that, once you're in Japan, just eat like matsuya every day for like $2. It's like a beef rice bowl. And if you want to like meet people, go on Meetup and meet like groups with similar interests. And if you want to drink, just buy soju at the konbini for $1. And there's your whole life, and it's very cheap.
I'm not saying this because I think you should. Like, I don't even think university is necessary. But if you want to be in Japan and work a job, even like as a restaurant waiter, they're going to ask for your university if you're a foreigner. I don't think they ask for that for Japanese people, but I've had friends who had very difficult experiences trying to get a job. The other one is learn some Japanese before you come, and then when you come, keep learning Japanese, and you'll get good really fast. The other one is be prepared to be treated like a non-Japanese person if you're not Japanese.
Okay, so that's what people say all the time, right? Like they treat you as a foreigner, no matter how long you live in Japan, stuff like that. Like, what do you think? What's your impression?
You'll never be treated as a Japanese person, but you can use that to your advantage really well. So a negative person will be like, oh, and like a positive person will be like, shit. They get mad at all the Japanese guys, but they never get mad at me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So depending on how you look at it, like, you know, and I think I've been here long enough and I speak the language fluently so I can make friends and stuff, but I think it's cool to have like a Japanese side and an American side.
Definitely come with a plan and be realistic. I think whether you want to come over to be an English teacher or maybe you want to just come to be an English teacher at first and then transition into something more permanent, you have to have a plan. Whether that means getting up on the language as soon as possible, you do need to be a native Japanese speaker for a lot of jobs here still. That's the truth. Like that'll help you way easier if you get it, like start building your Japanese now.
But I would say there are tons of resources here, especially now.
Right.
14 years ago, there were less, but right now they have like a digital nomad visa for 6 months. Here in Shibuya, they have like a one-stop business center for like an entrepreneur visa. There are many resources for you to come here. You just have to realize that it's possible and do some research.
My biggest advice is come here one time first and experience it and then make a decision after that. Just come straight here and try and live here. It's not gonna go very smoothly for you. You gotta understand systems, you gotta understand the rail system, you gotta find someone that can maybe help you with like logistical things like my company would do. So I would say come here, make some connections, make some friends, stay for at least 2 weeks if you can. I know you might have work, you might can only stay for a week, but a week's even good. I would say come visit first.
Do you have any American friends who came to Japan and they thought that Japan is not for them?
I can't say I have anyone that's like that. Any friend of mine that has come here has been pleasantly surprised and has started consider living here rather than not living here. So I haven't had like the negative impression side of the opinions yet on my end.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay. And also you speak Japanese, right?
Oh yes, I'm pretty fluent.
So like how did you learn? Like because you've only been in Japan for 1 year or something, right?
Yeah, I've only been living here technically for about a year. で、その時の前に、もうアメリカから勉強したんです。1年高校の時代、4年生の時にひらがなとカタカナ学んだ。そしてますますそういうカンジュゲーション的な。で、そこからほとんど学んだのはお笑いの世界から。だからお笑いが学びやすいのは台本的な話し方じゃないです。だからみんなおすすめするのは不自然の番組、不自然の話する番組を見た方がいいです。不自然の言い方とかも学ぶことができるから。
じゃあそういう意味で言うとアニメとかはなんかパーフェクトな教材じゃないっていうか。
そうですね。アニメはなんか台本的な話だからみんな実際にそういう話し方はしないから、言葉とかは学ぶけど、なんか言い方とかはアニメはおすすめしない。 だからみんななんかアニメで学んだ人たちはみんなアニメみたいに言い方するんですよ。
アメリカに住んでた時テレスハウスと、リアリティショーとか見た、日本引っ越して日本人の友達作って居酒屋でサラリーマン会話練習しています。
サラリーマンに居酒屋で声かけたりする。
サラリーマンと、一緒に2杯生ビール飲んだら俺ら日本人になります。
酔ってる日本人に話しかけると結構楽しい。
そう、マジでペラペラになる。けど今酔ってないからペラペラじゃない。
4ヶ月しか日本にまだ住んでないって言ってたんですけど、どうですか4ヶ月で日本語は上手くなりました自分の？
毎日友達と一緒に会話してるからちょっとだけ上手くなった。
まあちゃんと学校に行って、そしてたくさん日本のテレビを見て、やっぱねインプットやんないと絶対習得できないんで、まあそのアニメ好きだったらアニメを見ればいいし、テレビとか見て本とか読んで、やっぱたくさんインプットやって、そして友達とか language partner を作ればいい。最初は大学生だったんで結構外人が多かったんですけど、でもその後そのコメディを始めて、それはもう本当に日本のお笑い芸人ばっかりだったんで、もう本当にもう毎日8時間ぐらいしか日本語聞いてないから。
日本に住んでて長いこと住んでて日本語が喋れるようになる人と喋れない人で分かれてるじゃないですか。喋れない人との違いは何だと思いますか？それは
日本に来てもう外国人の友達ばっかりと遊んだりとかアメリカの番組とか見ると 100% 上手くなんないから、それを全部もうゴミ箱に捨てる。悪いアドバイスかもしれないんですけど、外国人の友達を作んなくていいかもしれないですね。最初はね。その後は全然ありだと思いますけど。
確かに。だって僕もアメリカ行って英語勉強したかったら日本人じゃなくてアメリカ人の友達欲しいからね。
ね、しかも今こういう仕事してるからめっちゃ上手くなるでしょ英語。いろんなね。
I mean, even though I live in Japan, I use English almost every single day. And I mean, I think it doesn't matter where you live at the end of the day. Yeah.
There's people who've lived here for 20 years and they still can't speak Japanese. It's so crazy. I don't understand it.
And some people just travel in Japan, then they speak Japanese and ask them, how did you learn? And they say like, just, study, like by myself at home, in my home country.
Well, if you think you're going to learn Japanese just from studying a textbook, that's wrong. You definitely have to like listen a lot and speak a lot, but the studying is like the foundation, I guess.
Okay, thank you for watching so far. How was it? That was interesting. America and Japan, the complete...
Hey, that was a good video. I know it was kind of long-winded. Good stuff, man. Go to the guy 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭's channel, man. He got some really, really, really good stuff. I agree with most of it. You know what I'm saying? It's not to bash America, but it's shit right now. And like I said, it's gonna get worse. You can try to say otherwise. You can try to don't come in here with that upstanding American talk, bro, because I'm American like hell. But our wage, our cost of living is crazy. Our insurance premiums are crazy. Rent is crazy. Mortgages are crazy. Jobs they're not really good jobs like that. Everything is political. You can't not be political in America. And I hate it. That's what I hate the most, is everything is political. This country was born off of political ideals. So again, I'm not gonna make it that. I'm just saying, like we gotta get out and travel, man. I'm happy that so many Americans are actually finding peace in other parts of the world, because we're not getting it here. We're not getting it here, especially when you got a 78-year-old crybaby in office throwing a fit about everything and lying every 5 seconds. But let me know what y'all think, man. Not to be political in the comments, but let me know what y'all think about like the comparison, non-political, the comparison, living somewhere abroad, if you've traveled abroad, or if you live in Japan and you're curious about living in America. Ask those questions. Let's get it going in the comments. I really feel like America is not number one. We're not. We're just not. We can say it is all we want to, but the numbers prove otherwise. We are effed up right now. We getting our ass beat in a boxing match with our arms tied behind our back. That's what's happening to us right now. All right. And these people are over there. Not one person that I saw interview looked stressed out. Not baggy eyes, not fat, nothing. Everybody looks healthy. Everybody's minding their business. It's quiet. It's not a bunch of noise. The trees, the grass is green. There's no trash on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, what do you say? You know, we got to stop with this ignorant mindset. Oh, America's the best. Da 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 da. I've been unadopted that indoctrinated shit. The only thing we really good at is sports. Like, let's keep it a buck. We good at Americanized sports: basketball, football, track, swimming. You know, those things. But when it comes to like the economic standpoint, it's not close. We're number one in innovation as far as like hip hop is concerned, but everything else, like, what do you no. If y'all have a chance, go travel, man. You know, I took my first vacation when I was 21 years old, and it opened up my eyes to how big the world was, because I thought the world was only as big as the town I was raised in. Swear. You know what I'm saying? So gotta get out and travel, gotta do a little more. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what y'all think of the video, man. I thought this was a pretty decent video. If y'all like this kind of content, I'll do more reactions to this. You know, I do like watching this kind of stuff. I like learning. I don't just like posting drama and all that other stuff. You know, I like watching encouraging things. This kind of uplifted me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what y'all think. Like, comment, share, and definitely let me know what you think the pros and cons are to each one if you have experience with both. All right, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Like the video.